Welcome to Talking Maine with the Bowtie Boy. I'm Tom Seville, and I have my special guest here, the president of UMF. We can't do anything else. Again, so I remind everybody, so nobody's watching this and complains, we have permission and we're 6 feet away, and I promise not to breathe. That ought to work. Welcome, Edward.
Thank you, sir.
It's good to have you back here.
It is good to be back.
But first, before I start, I have to tell you how proud I am of your wife.
Wow.
We were talking about how she has really come in here, and I consider doing what a university president's wife should do, is get to know the state that she's working in. And God, she has done that. Even with that dog that looks like you. So we are going to talk after the show, and you're going to give me her email so we can schedule her to come on and do a travel log.
Done.
She can bring her pictures up, and she can talk about where she went and what she saw. But the other thing, though, I'm very upset at you.
Okay.
You brought COVID-19 back with you.
Well, I don't know about that, Tom.
Well, I don't know. You were on this cruise last year, and all of a sudden COVID-19 hits right after you get back. So there's got to be a correlation.
I don't know. I don't know if the science backs that up.
I don't know. I could try. Remember, statisticians beat the data till it submits.
Right.
So we can make it work.
Okay.
Thank you, and I welcome you for coming back on.
There you go. Great.
And thank you for your energy and enthusiasm around UMF, because it truly shows. So I think, first of all, for the audience, we should talk about the recent diagnosis that you had, or
Absolutely.
Or test that came positive, and what you've done as a result of that. Because I told you jokingly as we started, I predicted you guys would all be home by now, and it's very obvious the students have taken very seriously what the guidance that you've had and the testing protocol. So we'll talk about that, come back to that, but let's talk about the diagnosis that you recently had and how you've handled it.
Sure, absolutely. So last week, we went through asymptomatic testing, so students who are not demonstrating any of the symptoms associated with COVID. So last week, we tested all of our residential students, and we also tested 100 random people across campus. So on Friday, we did have a few tests that came back positive. So I was notified on Sunday night that we had our first asymptomatic positive case. Subsequently on, yesterday, I was notified of 2 additional cases of students that came back positive for COVID. So in all 3 cases, they were not connected. They live in 2 different residence halls on campus. Those students were moved into isolation. We have 80 beds set aside in the residence hall just for that. So those students were moved into isolation, and their roommates were moved into quarantine, which is different, but still isolated from the rest of the student population. So our protocols worked perfectly. We are in constant contact with the Maine CDC. So I was actually on the call with Maine CDC yesterday. We went through the protocols and the actions that we've taken, and they said that we are meeting or exceeding all of their requirements. So the Farmington team has just done an awesome job with all of that.
So the student is still asymptomatic.
Yes.
And so therefore, they can still now Zoom in on their classes and so forth, so they can stay, but they can't leave their room, correct?
Correct. So they are isolated in their rooms. Meals are being delivered to them, and they have access to our Wi-Fi and to the technology they need to continue to attend their classes and progress with their degrees. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know Tiffany pretty well, and
she is awesome.
Yeah, she is awesome. Yeah. Right. She's great. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
She told me, because I was supposed to help her with something else she's working on, and we had to delay it because she had to suit up and help take this student to that isolation point, and was cleared, but it told me a little bit what was going on.
Yeah, and so we go into our enhanced cleaning protocols and everything else that goes with that. But as you and I were talking a little bit before, the students are invested in this. They want to be in Farmington. They love this place. They want to be here to pursue their education. So they've really, like I said, they're just invested in the process. They're wearing their masks. They're doing what we ask them to do. And I'm proud of them. I hear at other places around the country, at other universities, where students are not. They're disobeying the rules, and they're seeing the consequences of that. And we haven't seen that in Farmington.
Yeah, no, I joke about it again in the beginning. I predicted that mid-October you'd all be going home, and it's not happening.
Not yet. Everything's going well.
And the fact that you are testing like you are, to find out, we have a regular schedule that just shows that they are following the rules that are there. So I thank them and for what they've done, because the other part is that out of that, the community could get it terribly affected.
Absolutely.
Because we love to see the students downtown shopping and so forth, but if they are got an infection and it passes on, we become a center of the disease when we don't really want to be.
Absolutely, and we take that relationship with the community very seriously. We don't want to in any way damage that. And just so you know, our asymptomatic testing will continue all the way up until November 25th, when our students break for Thanksgiving. and they will be staying home from Thanksgiving. So the last 3 weeks of the semester will be completed online for them from their homes.
And I hear some of them really don't like that.
They don't really like that idea. They want to stay here. And we were joking, if you were 20 years old, how much time do you want to spend at home with your parents?
I love my mother. I love my mother and father, but when I was 20, I did not want to be in the house. So I can understand completely where they are.
Right.
So I know that when you came on the show before, you talked a little bit about the marketing program that you brought on to help find out, I don't remember exactly how you described it, but what should we do with UMF into the future?
Right.
And you've moved through that. You started doing that even in light of COVID-19. So why don't you give us a quick update on what's going on and how the citizens can participate if they want to?
Absolutely. I'd love to do that. So as part of the university's strategic planning efforts, we reached out to this national firm that helps universities go through strategic planning. And through that, we've identified, okay, where does Farmington need to be in the next 3 to 5 years? For Farmington to be a successful, vibrant campus, what are the things that we need to do? How do we need to change? And what's a little bit different is traditionally sometimes universities kind of think there's a wall around it, and we operate really internally, so it's just the internal campus that really has this discussion. But we said, no, we don't want to do that. We want to be bold. We don't want to be timid. And so we've been really aggressive about engaging the community and asking them to be involved in this process. So I think I put out an editorial in the Daily Bulldog, really inviting the community to reach out to our consultants, to take the surveys. If you're interested, reach out to the consultants and schedule a one-on-one meeting with them and give your feedback about where you see Farmington and where it should be. Because we know we're a vital part of this community, and we take that really seriously.
I need to sign up for that one-on-one.
You do?
I do.
I'll get you the information.
Give me the information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I would be glad. You and I've talked about this quite a bit. I would be glad to sit down with them or Zoom them or talk to them on the phone about what's going on, because this is a gem for this community.
Yeah, it is. And we took very seriously with them. We're like, we want you to not only look at the traditional academic enterprise, but how can UMF be more engaged in Franklin County and Farmington, economic development, all of those things, K-12 education. How do we become better at that? There's always room for improvement.
So you got any preliminary results back yet?
Not yet. Not yet. We should have that next month, I think.
Month.
Yeah.
So you'll have to come on.
Yeah, so you still have time for input.
I do. And I'm very serious. As you know, I would love to share that with them, because I have my opinions about and truly my opinions, but having some experience in this county. And I know recently you have changed some things educationally that people can take advantage of if they're a teacher. And the nursing program that you've talked about that you're involved in. So why don't you brag on that a little bit?
Well, we have been busy this past year, even with COVID. I know we kind of we have to be focused on COVID, but there's a lot of really great stuff going on at UMF. Last year, we rolled out 3 new master's programs. So for an institution that had 1 master's program, we are continuing to move in that space. Most of them in education. I mean, obviously that's been traditionally our mission at UMF. And we've seen just an incredible growth in those programs. So our graduate enrollment, I think in the fall, was up 15%, which is phenomenal. So more and more of our students are coming back to Farmington to get their master's degrees and their teachers. So we're excited about that. We have another master's degree in math education that was just approved by the Board of Trustees last month. So we'll start recruiting for that in January. So another great program. It meets a career need for the state of Maine for educators. So excited to offer that. We are also looking at how can we partner with other University of Maine schools and with the community colleges to start creating some pathways for students. One of the things that I've heard since I arrived here continually is that I love Farmington, but you don't have a nursing program. I love Farmington, but you don't have a nursing program. All the time I hear this. So we started a series of discussions with the University of Maine Augusta, and we're like, how can we make this work? How can we have a cohort of students that will reside in Farmington and be able to complete their nursing program at Augusta? So they'll spend the first 2 years here and then finish at Augusta. And so we're close to being able to announce that publicly.
Oh, I see. How was I supposed to do that?
Cat's out of the bag.
Sorry about that.
But it'll be a big joint announcement between us and Augusta. We're looking to have about 16 to 19 nursing students that are here. Trampus Hutchison, the new president at Franklin Memorial, is really excited about the program. So
He's the one that told me, so it's his fault.
He gave us a great quote.
He told Jared Golden, he told Jarrett when he was up visiting.
Oh, it's a great program. It makes all the sense. I mean, rural healthcare is so critical for this area. So yeah, we're excited about that too.
And so that they'll actually be working with you with Franklin Memorial Hospital as they're going through this. I mean, this is a perfect marriage.
This is the way it should be, right?
Should be.
We should all work together to make the community better, and that's what we're doing.
That's great.
Yeah.
So when do you hope to kick that off? now that I'd let the cat out of the bag?
So next fall.
Next fall. Wow,
Next fall.
that's quick.
Yeah, fall 21.
Wow,
Yep.
that's great.
Yep.
So how's your enrollment with the COVID-19? I mean, are we up? I mean, that was one of the struggles. It started to drop down
Sure.
below the 2,000, and we were trying to be everything for everybody.
Yep.
But we can't support that with the student population that we have.
Right. I think the most difficult thing for us is we started the semester, we would have been flat to up 1%, which nationally, if you looked what was happening across not only four-year universities, but two-year universities across the country, enrollments were down 10, 12, 16%. So our team had done an amazing job. Unfortunately, what has happened since the semester had started is that we're seeing a lot of students say, I just can't handle this. Either they're on campus, they're in a residence hall, and they're just having too much anxiety about this. They don't like wearing masks all the time. Students who wanted to complete their classes online are now just having too many financial obligations or family obligations at home. So we're seeing a lot more of our students withdraw this semester than we've ever seen. So as of the census date, we were down 4%. Which is disheartening to work so hard to be up 1% and then to see that. But we really feel that we have the right pieces in place, we have the right people, we have the right message. We know we've got a great product in Farmington. So we're confident that after this craziness of COVID is over, we're going to be well positioned.
And even 4%, that's, do you know what the national average? I would bet
16 or 12%.
So you might be, I was just going to say, you might be a little bit concerned about that, and I am too, but from a standpoint of total comparison, you guys are doing pretty well.
Yeah, and we had 40 students who just decided to defer. They've been accepted.
Okay, so wait, defer. They said not coming this year.
Not coming this year. I think 8 are going to come in January, and the remainder are going to come next fall.
Wow.
So there are kids that still want to be here, but they're waiting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you know what the in-state, out-of-state relationship numbers are?
We're generally around 80, 85% in-state. Our out-of-state numbers were down this year. I think there's this national trend where students are staying closer to home.
Yeah.
But our Maine numbers were fantastic.
Yeah.
It was great to see.
And local kids, I think when we walked in, you said the 100 miles of here, many of our students come here.
Yeah, that's right. So our consultants help us crunch the numbers, and we found that 85% of the students at Farmington are within 100 miles of campus. So these are Maine kids, and that's great.
Yeah,
those are the kids we want.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah.
So what else is going on that I can let the cat out of the bag?
Well, athletics. All of our student athletes are back, even though there isn't external competition. The North Atlantic Conference that we're a part of suspended competition across the universities, but we brought our student athletes back. We heard from them that they really wanted to come back and be with their teammates. So if you go down to Prescott Fields, you'll see them all out there practicing with their masks on, and they're just happy to be here.
Do you think that like the soccer program might end up being a spring program this year?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So we have a meeting with all the presidents across our conference next week to discuss both winter and spring athletics and what that could look like.
Because it seems to me that might be a possibility. That's what's like UMO, basically the football program is going to be a spring program now so that they can play.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest among the presidents to somehow make this happen. So we'll see what happens with it.
I mean, that's a great thing.
Yep.
New programs other than the ones we talked about within the school at all? Anything else that's brand new that I don't know about yet?
That you don't know about yet? I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know if I have anything else that's new and exciting other than the new master's programs and the partnerships we're looking at.
And your faculty staying about the same? How are the faculty? I mean, they got to be challenged. I mean, some of them were, when I used to teach, would be an old fogey. I don't know how I would have done it online, for God's sakes. And then in the classroom size. So how have you handled some of that stuff? Sure.
I will praise our faculty all day long. They are resilient. They are creative. They are all about serving our students. I don't think it's any secret that across the University of Maine system, we were the most residential, traditional classroom-based campus of anyone across the system. That all changed with COVID. When we sent our students home March 13th, we had to be creative.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, and the faculty responded, and we really left it up to the faculty based on what they want to do. And so we went from about 100% fully in the classroom to a pretty even split between 30 to 40% in the classroom, 30-40%, which is hybrid. So that means they spend some time in the classroom, sometimes away, and then fully online. So our faculty really were able to build their schedules around that with the students, and they've been great. They've adapted. Yeah, it's, some aren't as good with technology as others, but they're learning, right? So it's been really good, and students have really responded to it.
And the students seem to be acceptable to this. I mean, they're basically, you're changing the face of this place for the future almost.
Yeah.
It's like I say, if I'm a businessman and I own a big box business, a building in Boston, I better be looking for something else to do with that, because if I had people in there that were working every day, and they've now discovered that they can work at home
Yep.
and be more efficient at what they need to do,
Yep.
what would I do in my big box store? So
Yes.
you guys must be kind of facing where you're going to be when you come out of COVID-19.
Well, and what the experts are saying across the country is higher education is going to have to change because COVID, the world's changed. So we're positioned for that now, and we weren't before. Like in March, we were not.
Yeah.
And here we are, and just that quickly, we were able to pivot, and now we are. So I think moving forward, online will always be part of our way that we deliver education, and it should be.
Yeah.
Not everyone can come to Farmington, but they want access to the Farmington quality education, and we should make that available. So.
And I think with your master's degree program, if you can put more of it online,
Yep.
then you have a great chance to get somebody from Portland that might be, or even Massachusetts that might want to be part of it, knowing they got to come do some residency requirement here eventually.
Yes.
But they can do a majority of their classes online.
Yeah, we've really been amping up our communication with our alumni. The great thing about Farmington is we've placed teachers across New England. So how do we turn our teachers into recruiters, right? If they're a great teacher somewhere in Vermont, how can they talk about Farmington, come back here for their masters, and recruit other teachers to come to Farmington for their masters? So we have got this great alumni network who love this place.
So that leads me into the
Sure.
other question that I thought about is recruiting. How have you changed your recruiting as you've gone out there? Because I think I shared with you when we first met, maybe I didn't. My daughter was a recruiter for High Point University. And the recruiting program that she put into place or was part of was completely different than UMF's.
Right.
I mean, she would be, and because of the acronyms or the initials, she oftentimes ended up close to UMF, and she did New England.
Right.
And they would only be there for half of the college show, and then they had to go back because there was no money for them to stay overnight. And she knew that it would hurt their program.
Yep.
How have you changed that? Have you changed that? And how are you getting the word out that besides your alumni, who's going out to these college shows for you now?
They're all virtual now.
Oh, they're all virtual now. Holy mackerel.
The world changed. So again, we talk about that word pivot. We had to pivot again. So the way that we recruit students has completely changed.
Oh, wow.
So now everything we had to create a bunch of virtual content, and our admissions people. Again, I cannot say enough good things about Lisa Elrich and that group and the work that they're
Great
doing.
lady. Yeah.
They work on the weekends, they work at night. They are going out virtually and engaging all of these different. But we are also just starting up campus visits. We can now have campus visits again.
I saw some students.
You see the white tent?
Yeah.
So we got a white tent out there, and we can now have campus visits because that we know that coming to Farmington is how we hook them, right?
Yeah.
Because they come on campus, and it's what I heard last year when I was speaking to students. It's like, well, I'm from Connecticut, I'm from Boston. It's like, so why did you come here? Well, I came to campus, and it was just different.
Yeah.
So we know that we need to bring them on campus. Like, you can't do that virtually. Like,
No,
you
you
have to
can't.
be here and feel it,
Yeah.
right?
So when Lisa does the Zoom or the digital, the online meetings, does she's still here?
Yes.
So, she has something set up with the school, or do they have the
Yes.
online, and then the high school, for example?
Yes.
So then, so it's like when I was in school many eons ago, literally, is that when we knew somebody was coming from a particular university, we could sign up and go down and see them. So I assume that the students now at the high school, if UMF is going to go to Mount Blue, they would let the students know, the seniors know, that, or juniors, that Mount Farmington is going to be there, and they would set up a place so they can zoom in and do it.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah, the world's just different right now.
I got to tell my daughter, maybe she can find a job doing that, recruiting. Go back when she's home with the baby. Wow.
Yeah.
So, and international, how are we doing with international students? Because
International is completely shut down right now.
Because of COVID.
Yeah, the Department of State, there's just no movement on that. And the University of Maine system is not really looking at that right now, any international travel.
So if you had students that were staying in country, are they been able to continue?
They're continuing.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a small population for us. You know, I think at UMaine and Orono, it's just a different story because of their research mission. But for us, it's a small population.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I know.
That's a dramatic change because I remember when I taught here that we had a few international students when I had a ball with them because
Yeah.
they had a whole different perspective on what they saw and what they talked to. And it was really kind of a learning situation for our students because so many of our students, there is very little diversity in Maine.
Yes.
So to have that happen, in your diversity program, have you been able to reach out to more minorities? But has COVID-19 really affected that too?
It's affected that too. I will say that last fall, my first fall, I had some great conversations and great visits to some of the community colleges, especially Southern Maine Community College, Eastern Maine, and Central Maine Community Colleges. You walk down their halls, it's a very different student population. There is a lot more diversity, international students in those areas. So a lot of it is like, well, how do we start recruiting those students to Farmington? And traditionally, Farmington is like, no, we want you here for 4 years. Well, let's change that. Like, let's start talking about agreements that we can have with the community colleges to recruit those students who have been successful in the community college, and we can get them up here to Farmington. So there's a lot more effort and push around that for the students that are already here in Maine. So
that's really good news to me personally because one of the things we did when I was in the legislature is try to create a more easy transition from the community college, seamless basically, from the community college into the system.
Yeah.
And that sometimes I didn't feel that UMF had reached out as hard as they could have to make that transition easy for those students to come into our school system, but it sounds like you've really been successful.
It is, and I think there is a lot of talk about the Farmington experience. And to have the Farmington experience, you needed to be here for 4 years. Well, we need to redefine what the Farmington experience is. So,
You know, if you go back to World War II, having interviewed a pilot that came out of UMF, Charles Blood, he actually came to Farmington for a 2-year degree, and then he went to UMO to finish his degree up.
Yep.
It's in education. So
Yep.
at one point, the Farmington experience for teachers was 2 years here and then finish up at Orno.
yeah.
So it's kind of like, yeah, you should. I mean, if these students want to come here, that we should welcome.
We should make it. We should make it happen, right? Everything that we can do.
Yeah.
And to your point, that's great exposure for other kids from rural Maine who might not meet those sort of people.
And I think about it when we try to do the community college without walls here, is that there were students up at Mount Abram that were very tentative. They didn't want to come down here. It was the big school.
Yeah.
I remember I went to University of Tennessee. It was 22,000 when I went there. And so they didn't want to come to this big school of 2,000.
Right.
But by having the community college help them get through some of their basic classes, it gave them more confidence to come down here and be part of the program, which some of them did. And
Yes.
it makes it a lot easier. It's not as intimidating to them.
It isn't, and the data clearly shows across the country, if a student is successful in the community college, they will be successful, and they will graduate from the four-year institution.
And they usually sometimes end up being more of a non-traditional student that's coming into you, too.
Yes, and that's another thing. Our
yeah.
non-traditional students are starting to organize. They have a non-traditional student organization, and they're talking about having a non-traditional student floor in the residence halls. So our student population has to change, right? It's not just going to be the 18-year-old kids coming right out of high school. So how do we accommodate those students and create services for those students?
And some of them may be veterans that are coming back.
Absolutely.
They want to come back and want to go to school and don't have a place to live off campus and want to live someplace on here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, geez, this is exciting. UMF's coming along.
We're doing it.
It must be the president's wife that's driving this.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah,
I would never take credit away from her.
Or his two wonderful children.
That's right.
And your kids are doing great?
Kids are doing fantastic. Anna Kate's in 5th grade. They're going every other day. And then Caroline is now in kindergarten.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's trouble. But they're excited. They're excited for our first snow so they can get back over at Tickham and start skiing again.
Good for them.
So they're having a great time.
Well, you and I talked at the beginning of this, and I give you great credit because I told you that a president of this campus needs to be present in the community. And I don't know how many times we ran into each other out there having dinner. You do have to come over to Ambition Beer, though. They have this new beer there called Repugnant. It's named after this senator, and they brewed it up again, so it's on tap over there. So we'll have to talk after the show.
Sign me up.
But I think, the way that you have opened this campus up and the way that you're moving it in the right direction, it's going to be extremely successful, and it starts at the top.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we're excited about it. We love this place. Yeah. So it's hard not to fall in love with this place.
Even though you're from Arkansas.
Well, don't hold that against me.
Alabama? Oh, man. Anything else you want to, as we get ready to close the show out, that you want to let the public know? And again, thank you for everything you're doing with CV19.
Yeah, honestly, if there are any questions or concerns in the community about the way the university is handling the COVID situation, please reach out to me. I have an open door policy with the community and our students. I'll tell you that we're doing everything that we can to keep the community safe. And also in our strategic plan, we can make that information available. If you have any input or want to talk to our consultants or take the survey, please. It's a critical voice that we need in the process.
Phone number. We didn't post it, but if you, you got it right there, 778-7256. How do you like that?
I like that.
It's right here. Do you see it kind of going across? No, don't look up there. Look right
yeah,
here.
yeah. Okay, here it is. Yeah.
Jesus, golly. Well, Edward.
Hey, thanks, Tom.
Always a pleasure, and you'll come back on after we get some of the marking stuff, and so I don't let any more cats out of the bag.
You have to have my wife on first.
Oh, that's right.
I'll come after my wife.
Okay, that would be good.
Yeah.
That would be, I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I am too.
We joke about it, but we were going to do the interview with her about the winter and how she survived the first winter.
Yes.
And it was a kind of a mild winter as it was.
Yes.
And then you went away, and then.
Well, don't tell her it
COVID-19.
was a mild winter.
Oh, it was a mild winter. I'm sorry, dear. But you never know. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Tom.
We'll set something up. I want to have her come on. That
All right, appreciate it, sir.
All right. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Edward, thank you for all the great work you're doing here at UMF. It's greatly appreciated. We'll see you next time.